Good morning, this is Brett English here at Liberty Hill Ranch. I want to talk to you this morning a little bit about my Hatching Time cage batteries and my experiences dealing with them and with Hatching Time as a company. I hope you'll find a lot of useful information if you're considering purchasing any of these cage batteries. And here we go. I have 4 batteries of these cages. As you can see, I've got three tiered or 3 layered batteries and 1 4-tiered battery. These are all made by a company called Hatching Time out of Delaware. They've been around for about 35 years according to their website. Hatching Time is actually the North American distributor of these cages. These cages are manufactured by a company called Samuka, and you can tell that by the name Samuka plastered to the front of all of the cages on these batteries. But Hatching Time, as their distributor, sells all manner of poultry equipment, including cages, coops, incubators, brooders, grow-out pens, nesting boxes, transport cages, feeders, processing equipment, pluckers, and more. But most of everything they sell is made out of recycled plastic with assorted bits of steel, aluminum, whatnot, holding things together. But they're all very durable, very easy to maintain and keep. Just a little more general information about these cages. As I said, they're made of 100% recycled plastic. They call this plastic system Comfort Plast. They're offered in 3 sizes based on the variety of poultry you want to keep. They have them for quail, they have them for partridges, they have them for chickens. And the main difference between those is the depth from top to bottom of the cages. The width of all the layers and cages is pretty much the same across the board. These cage systems come in sets of 1 to 5 layers. The fact that everything in these cage systems is standardized means that they're interchangeable. So if you wanted to add, reduce, expand, you have to replace parts, it's easy to change things out. The standardization of equipment is super convenient. Each of the cage systems are mounted on casters, which make it easy to move around and roll the cages out for maintenance. Each of the cage systems also include feeding and watering systems, and each of the cage systems for quail are rated for 6 to 7 birds per cell for standard sized birds, or 5 to 6 birds per cell for jumbo sized birds. So let's talk about a few of the pros and cons of these cage systems and my experience with them. Number 1, sanitation. These cages are super easy to clean. You can get in there, scrape poop out, wash poop out, get in there and get stuff off the actual body of the cage really easily, because they're made of plastic, and that stuff just comes right off. The manure and other waste items are easy to clean in these cages. So it's easy to keep it sanitary. Get in there, scrub them out, use a little disinfectant, and that is wonderful. The way that the bottoms of these cages are set up, they're easy on the bird's feet. The manure rolls right through the bottom of the cage into the manure trays below, which keeps your birds clean and healthy and keeps your eggs cleaner. And the rollout trays are fantastic. They let the eggs just roll right out to the front of the cage, away from the birds' kicking feet and the manure debris that happens to remain in the cage. So keeping the birds' environment clean and sanitary, keeping your eggs clean and sanitary is super easy with these cages. Love it. Also on maintenance, every 4 to 6 months I like to roll these cages out and take the birds out and just hit them with the pressure washer, a little bit of bleach or disinfectant, in about 5 minutes with a pressure washer, and you can clean one of these cage batteries up to almost like new condition. They are absolutely easy and simple to maintain. I just roll them right out of the birdhouse onto the deck and turn the pressure washer on, spritz them with a little bleach, and boom, we're done and back in here and got them back into service in no time. As far as assembly and even maintenance goes, these cages are very easy to put together and take apart. The assembly is very straightforward. I've found no problems, no hassles in putting these cages together, taking them apart and putting them back together for various maintenance reasons. Being made of plastic, these cages are extremely durable. Plastic is inert. It doesn't rust, it doesn't corrode, it doesn't rot. It just lasts with a very small amount of maintenance. I expect to get maybe even decades of service out of these units. One of the things I like the best about these cage systems are the feeders. There's a standard front mount trough system or gutter system that's made of the same comfort plastic as the cages are, but inside they have these wonderful red grids, which they call their smart grill feeder. And those of you who deal with quail know that quail are messy eaters. There's often a lot of waste, but this grid fits in the bottom of this feeder tray, and it keeps the birds from slinging the feed everywhere, which totally eliminates waste. I would say 95% of the feed that ends up on the floor of this building is from me or my kids spilling it, not from the birds slinging feed. This feeder system is fantastic. There's very little waste, and it's very clean and easy to maintain. Another thing we like is the watering system. As you can see, looking in the back of this cage, there's a nipple waterer. It runs on a bar across the whole battery on each layer of the cage system, and the birds go back there and just peck at it and get their water. The watering system for these cage batteries is gravity fed, and it's plumbed through each layer. One of the things I have done is I've plumbed my system across all of my cage batteries and up into the ceiling of my birdhouse, all the way over to this 5-gallon bucket, to which I've installed a float valve. So I have a water line that goes straight into that bucket. The water is filled to the level of the float valve, and then the water is gravity fed down to all of my cage batteries throughout my birdhouse, and it keeps me from having to water birds anymore, which is extraordinarily convenient. Another thing I've done to cut down on some of the work with watering these birds is I've put cutoff valves everywhere I could think of throughout my watering system, so that if I need to pull these cages out, move them, I can just cut the water off there, unhook the lines, and I don't have a big mess to deal with and don't have to go through a lot of grief getting the water cut off, and I have that done pretty much everywhere. Kudos to the Hatching Time for making these hoses out of a opaque black material. It really cuts down on algae buildup and growth inside the hose system. It helps maintain the water system. It keeps the nipples from getting clogged up with algae. That was just a small little detail that really makes a big difference. Another real nice thing about it is the water lines here are 1/2 inch inside diameter, which means there's plenty of flow. They move a lot of volume of water through here, so you don't have to worry about your birds. The number of birds and the number of batteries putting a strain on your system. One of the other real pros about these cage systems that nobody else really talks about is the level of control it gives you as a breeder. Being able to separate your birds gives you a lot of control and helps you with keeping track of and record keeping regarding your breeding program, and the fact that you can break out 60 birds in a 3-cage battery or more, and keep track of which roosters are with which hens and who's producing what, is really a nice thing from a breeder standpoint. So the control issue is something that warrants mentioning. Now, as much as I like these cage systems, there are a couple of points that could stand some improvement. And the first about those is the manure tray. This is the manure tray that comes with these Hatching Time cages. And it is a perfect fit from front to back depth-wise and from side to side lengthwise to fit directly under the housing portion of these cages. It gets right under there. Unfortunately, it stops at the front of the cage here and does not come out over the rollout trays. So what happens is occasionally you have some manure that rolls out the front of that rollout tray and falls into the feeder below. So manure from this level comes out, rolls through that rollout tray, and falls into this feeder, which is not great. The solution I've got from that, I got from Terry over at Koternick's Corner. These automotive drip pans you can get from AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts or O'Reilly's are fantastic. They come out about 5 more inches front to back than the manure trays that come with the Hatching Time cages do, and they fall right under this rollout tray and catch that poop and keeps the manure out of the feeder trays below. That was a simple, easy fix. Those manure trays or the drip pans are about $10 a piece to buy at AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, and they are a simple, easy fix to that problem. But that is a design issue Hatching Time might consider revisiting, is making those trays a little bit wider from front to back. Another minor inconvenience I've discovered about Hatching Time cages is, though they are very, very easy to put together, assemble, disassemble for maintenance and such, when you do have to move these things, if you have to pick it up with any kind of load on it, with birds still in it or anything like that, some of the sections do have a tendency to separate. It's all snap in place joints. But a simple workaround I found to deal with that is I have just gone back through with some simple zip ties, just as a reinforcement measure. Their cages are just sitting, there's no problem with stability. But if you are going to be moving them up and down, particularly if you have to pick them up, it is handy to go ahead and put those zip ties on. That gets us to my main gripe about the Hatching Time cages. There are a lot of things I like about it, but the number one thing that I dislike about these cage systems is right down here on the bottom, and it is the proximity of that bottom tier, that bottom layer, to the floor. From the bottom of that manure pan to the floor, you've got about 4 inches. And that bottom layer of cages, if you've got any kind of mobility problem, any kind of bending over, kneeling, squatting problem, or you're just like me, old and fat, those cages are tough to get into to see about and deal with your birds. And getting that manure tray off that bottom rack is a real pain in the back. I think that's too close to the ground. I have talked to Hatching Time about it. They don't have a solution for it. I am working on a solution, and I hope I'll have a video of that in very short order, but that would be my number one complaint, is dealing with that bottom tier of cages is just too low to the ground to be effective for anybody with any kind of mobility problem. There's just a couple other points I want to make about the Hatching Time cages and my experiences with Hatching Time this far. I found their website, which is www.hatchingtime.com, to be excellent. It's easy to navigate, it's informative, it's very clear. I thought their website was tippy top. I also like the videos Hatching Time has posted on YouTube regarding the assembly of their cages and equipment. I think those are well done, they're concise, they're clear, they make it easy to follow as far as putting together these cage systems. Another strong point about Hatching Time is I have found their customer service to be excellent. They are very responsive via email and telephone when I have talked to them about any kind of issues or questions about these cages. The customer service has been really, really wonderful, and the shipping time on these cages when you order them is excellent. Super fast turnaround. They usually get them out the door within a day or two, and things I've ordered from Hatching Time I've almost always had inside 4 or 5 days from the day I placed the order. So dealing with Hatching Time has been fantastic. I think these cages are an excellent value for their money. I have purchased a number of them, as you can tell, but I've also built some cages. Both of these cage systems I built entirely myself, purchased the wire, the wood, the hardware at my local hardware stores and big box stores. And when you consider the money and materials and the time and labor you have in these cage systems, these are so much better. The Hatching Time cages are so much better bang for your buck and value for your money, with lifespan and everything else. So in conclusion, I would have to say I highly recommend these cages. I love them. They're easy to work with. The minor flaws they have, I think, have some easy fixes. The value, the durability, the ease of maintenance, the quality of conditions you can keep your birds in is just outstanding. And I think these cages are amongst the best on the market. I would highly recommend them to anyone. Don't forget, if you like this video, please take a moment and smash that like button.